As we get closer to fantasy football, these are the top 10 quarterbacks for you going into 2024, of course, the fantasy football season. If you enjoy, drop a like, subscribe. Let's get into it. All the way on the left side of your screen are my current quarterbacks 11 through 15, the middle 16 through 20. You guys can pick it up. I'll give you a second to look at it here. But again, on the road to 18,000. And if you're interested and you enjoyed today's video, tomorrow, Thursday, May 23rd at noon, I'm going to be hosting a live stream for Bleacher Report. Of course, we're going to be talking about some NBA. So if you enjoy that, of course, come on through. But at number 10, Jordan Love here. In year number 1 as the starting quarterback, he was the quarterback 5 on the season. But if we focus more so on that second half turnaround that Jordan Love had, he was the quarterback 2 on from week 11 to week 18. He was averaging just about 22 to 23 fantasy points a game. Insane turnaround from Jordan Love. And I've been on this bandwagon since he was at Utah State. Of course, I have some testimonies as well. But this is a guy that's coming back to the same exact situation with a minorly improved offensive line. Josh Jacobs is now in the fold. Of course, he has the same coaching staff around him. I don't see why he can't at least be a top 10 quarterback yet again in year number 2. Of course, health willing if he doesn't get hurt. But again, now he's more comfortable, improved offensive line. His weapons are hopefully going to be healthy. Guys like Christian Watson for the entire season. I like Jordan Love's floor and upside. He gives us that combination, and I'll have him. I'll play it safe here. I'll have him here at number 10, but he could finish as high as top 5 yet again, right? Brock Purdy at number 9. He's another quarterback who has the same exact argument as Jordan Love. Again, he was the quarterback 6 last year in Brock Purdy. And from week 10 on, Brock Purdy was the quarterback 5, averaging just about 20 fantasy points a game at the quarterback position. But again, same situation as last year. The only thing that's different is that they improved their offensive line depth and they added Ricky Pearsall into the fold. So outside of injury, I can't see why Purdy's not yet again a top 10 fantasy quarterback. It's definitely going to be an interesting he's definitely going to be one of the most interesting quarterbacks as far as stacking opportunities, because you have 4 legitimate options in this offense, 5 even, where you can grab them and then grab Brock Purdy down the board, and you can stack them on a week-to-week basis. So definitely Brock Purdy has the potential, if you're going to go with a stacking strategy, to fly up these lists into the top 5. At number 8, we're going to talk about Dak Prescott. I'm beginning to sound like a broken record, but Dak Prescott has the same argument as Brock Purdy and Jordan Love. He was the quarterback 3 last year, but from week 3 on, he was the quarterback 1 on the season. Again, we're not talking about a second half stretch like we did with Brock Purdy or Jordan Love. We're talking about from week 3. We're not even out of the first month of the season yet. From week 3 to week 18, Dak Prescott was the best quarterback in fantasy football last season, averaging just about 24 fantasy points a game. Same situation as last year, but it's now a prove-it year in Dallas. They're bringing everybody back, and it's a year where it's Super Bowl or bust. So they have to play their best football, and I think in order for this team to win a Super Bowl, it all starts with football, with how the game is being played by Dak Prescott. Excuse me. So with that in mind, right, I can't see why he doesn't dominate yet again, at least for fantasy sakes, in the regular season and return as a top 10 fantasy quarterback. I'm going to play it safe like I typically do with these rankings and have him down here at number 8. But again, what I love about all 3 of these guys is that they give us this combination of floor and upside. All 3 of these guys can finish top 5, but all of them, I think, can't go lower than number 10. So that's why I have all 3 of these guys here to start off today's video. At number 7, we get a little bit riskier here with Joe Burrow here. I kind of ruined number 6, but stick with me. Joe Burrow, it wasn't a great year for him last year, especially with all the injuries and how they piled up. But even before the injury, he didn't have a lot of protection and he didn't have a lot of help around him. So, of course, he struggled early in the season. But the Bengals have yet again addressed the offensive line this offseason. So Joe Burrow should be healthy, hopefully, this year for the entirety of it. Because the last time he was healthy for the full season, 2 years ago, he was the quarterback 4 on the season. It looks also like at this point they're going to keep T. Higgins, and he's going to play out his contract as well going into the season. So we know the talent that Joe Burrow is. And with these weapons and the improved offensive line, he's always going to be a great option for fantasy football. We just have to hope that he stays healthy. That's the only outlier, and that's the only thing for Joe Burrow. Can he stay healthy? Because if he is, he's an elite top 5 option. I'm going to play it safe here and have him at number 7. But then at number 6, unlike all of the quarterbacks that I mentioned, where they give you that combination of floor and upside, this is where we kind of get away from that here. And he's the only outlier in today's video. But Anthony Richardson, again, if you want upside at the quarterback position, look no further than AR5, because on a per game basis, before he got hurt in the first 3 weeks of the season, Anthony Richardson was the quarterback 4, averaging 23 fantasy points a game. As long as he can stay healthy, he's going to be dynamic, whether if it's with his arms or legs, because this team has a great offensive line, great skilled players around him for this team to not only make a playoff push, but dare I say it, for Anthony Richardson to lead this team into the playoffs and for him to receive MVP votes. That is one of the bold takes I have for this season. Again, I'm really high on this Colts team this year, and they potentially, I guess I'll say this, to potentially get Anthony Richardson in the 6th round, and he could potentially be the quarterback 1. I think that's mind-boggling, and that's great value, especially if we're going to be targeting a fantasy football championship. Let's go out there and target maybe the quarterback 1 in the 5th or 6th round. I can't get much better than that as far as value. Back to the guys that we know. Lamar Jackson here. He's the reigning MVP of the league, and he's the quarterback 4 for fantasy last season, and that's with all the injuries that piled up. Guys like Mark Andrews and Zay Flowers missed some weeks. This year, same situation, but his guys are healthy, and of course the offensive line's gotten a little bit better, and now they added Derrick Henry into the fold. Of course, healthy Mark Andrews back as well. I think all of these pieces coming back together are only going to help Lamar Jackson be a more dynamic fantasy football player. I know you might want to worry about Derrick Henry maybe taking some touches and some touchdowns away from Lamar Jackson, and that's why he's here at number 5, because I do think Derrick Henry is going to be a key factor in this offense, but it's still Lamar Jackson. He doesn't need touchdowns to be fantasy relevant. I think Lamar Jackson is going to get his points no matter what, and of course, the only difference this year is that Lamar Jackson's coming in a little bit lighter. And what does that tell us? In his first MVP run, what was that, 2019 or 2020? In his first MVP season, he was the lightest he was in some time. And then over the last couple of years, he's gained weight. And this year, he's all the way back down to as light as he was in his first MVP season. That means he's going to be agile. He's going to be quicker. And of course, he can rack up a lot of these rushing yards now that he's lighter and he's quicker on his feet. So Lamar Jackson, again, might not have the touchdown upside as he has had in previous years with Derrick Henry now in the mix. But he has the, I guess, the agility now, saying that he's 30 pounds lighter to go out there and dominate with his legs. And he can still dominate with his arm as well, because this team still has a healthy Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, Zay Flowers. You guys know this offense. He just needs to go out there and be healthy and produce. And we know Lamar Jackson has done that time in and time out. So at number 5 for him, a little bit of a down. He's a little bit down just because the addition of Derrick Henry, At number 4, CJ Stroud. After the greatest rookie season ever from a quarterback that we've ever seen, it's hard to say that Stroud's going to be much better than last year, or, that he can improve much from that great season in year number 1, But from weeks 1 to 13, before his injury, Stroud was the quarterback 5 on the season. But the Texans front office have definitely given us good reason to believe that this is the year where CJ Stroud can come out and be the quarterback 1 for fantasy football, because they added Joe Mixon. They traded for Stephon Diggs. They still have Nico Collins, Tank Dell, who looks like he's going to be ready from week 1. Dalton Schultz, a great O-line, a great defense, a great culture, everything for the Houston Texans. We have never seen a better roster constructed in Houston, and it's going to be scary here coming into 2024. This team is ready to make a Super Bowl run, but it all starts with CJ Stroud, and it's all on his shoulders. Can he deliver in year number 2? That is the biggest question. But I believe now that it's year number 2, CJ Stroud, he's going to be a lot more comfortable with his game. But at the same time, on the other side, coaches are going to have a lot more film on him. So that's going to be an interesting battle. Do we believe in year number 2 he takes that superstar jump? Or do you think he comes back to reality? Like it's really a 50-50 split, which we see with a lot of these rookie quarterbacks going into year number 2. So just something to look out for. I think he has a lower floor than some of these guys on this list. But with his ceiling, I don't know if there's anybody higher with all the weapons around him. At number 3, Jalen Hurts. Believe it or not, despite the second half of the season meltdown from the Philadelphia Eagles, Jalen Hurts still finished as the quarterback too. And despite that meltdown from a team perspective, he had his best football and his best fantasy stats in that second half stretch. And that, again, for Jalen Hurts, in that quarterback two season last year, he had 6 games where he had 25 plus fantasy points from the quarterback position. That alone can win you your weeks, right? It could be the deciding factor. But whether if they're winning or losing, or whether if it's with his arms or legs, Jalen Hurts is going to be dynamic, and he's going to be a big reason why your team can win a fantasy championship. The only reason he's not higher on this list, like he was last year for me, is because of the addition of Saquon Barkley. You're seeing a trend here with Jalen Hurts and Lamar Jackson. These mobile quarterbacks, if they have these star-studded backs added to their offense, their production is going to take a hit in that aspect. But that's the only reason Jalen Hurts is at number 3 on my list. I know this was and will always be a running offense, which is what they're going to do yet again with Saquon Barkley here going into 2024. I think it's the first time they've had a running back of this caliber since like LaShawn McCoy, right? Back there about 10 years ago. So I'm interested to see how much Saquon is going to have as far as a touch volume in this offense from day number 1, and how much that's going to affect the rushing totals and rushing stats of a guy like Jalen Hurts. Are they still going to go to the tush push in the red zone? Or is it going to be a guy like Saquon Barkley to get all the touchdowns? Something interesting to look out for. But for his upside, and for the weapons around him, and for the consistency in Jalen Hurts, for fantasy, I think he's still a top 3 quarterback. And again, I love the stacking opportunities. You could still go A.J. Brown in the first round and get Jalen Hurts in the 4th round, or go Devontae in the 3rd and get Jalen Hurts in the 4th round. I like the stacking opportunities in this offense. And for year number 2, I'm still going to attack this Philadelphia offense. At number 2, Patrick Mahomes. Speaking of stacking opportunities, it doesn't get much better with maybe the best quarterback to ever do it in this offense and how loaded they are. Because this offense has more overall talent around Patrick Mahomes than it ever has in the Mahomes era. Hollywood Brown, Rashee Rice, if he actually gets on the field, Xavier Worthy, fastest man ever according to NFL standards, Travis Kelce, Isaiah Pacheco. This offense is loaded with a better O-line, I might add, this year. Patrick Mahomes was the quarterback 8 last year with a subpar receiving room, including Travis Kelce. And he was the quarterback 2 years ago when he had a little bit better options around him. He was the quarterback 1. And in year 2021, he was the quarterback 4. So over the last 3 years, he was the quarterback 8, 1, and 4. He's great for fantasy football no matter who he has around him. But imagine him now with a better receiving room. I wouldn't be shocked if he's going to be drafted as the quarterback 1 in most drafts. And I wouldn't be shocked, obviously, if he's the MVP of the league and he's going to be the quarterback 1 yet again in fantasy football. So at number 2, not a shocker for me, for Patrick Mahomes. And then at number 1, if we want to talk about the history of great fantasy football quarterbacks, Josh Allen has to be on the top of that list. Because over the last 3 seasons, hear me out, he was the quarterback 1, quarterback 2, and quarterback 1. You can't get much better than that over a 3-year stretch, because over that 3-year stretch, he's also consistently averaged 24 fantasy points a game. This is a team that did lose Stefon Diggs in this offseason. I understand that, but that only puts more on the shoulders of a guy like Josh Allen. And again, as we saw, when they made the offensive coordinator change midway through the season last year, this became a more running offense. And it's not always on the shoulders of a guy like Josh Allen, but he was still a top 5 quarterback through the second half of last season. So his floor is a top 5 quarterback. Again, absolutely insane stretch that we're witnessing from a guy like Josh Allen. But I'm not worried about the loss of Stefon Diggs because of what we saw through the second half of last season. He's going to be the heartbeat of this Bills offense. And if this team is going to compete in those high scoring games, eventually they're going to have to score, and Josh Allen's going to have to be Superman on a week-to-week basis. I like Josh Allen more so than ever for fantasy football. But that's going to do it here for our top 10 quarterbacks on May 22nd. Again, long way into the fantasy football season, but that is what we're here for. If you enjoyed today's video, drop a like, subscribe. But before you click off, From now until the Super Bowl, we're going to be dropping 2 fantasy football videos a week. We also have 2 other podcasts a week. So 4 videos a week. You get a lot of consistent content. And throughout the season, we do start sit options, waiver wire videos, trade videos, whatever you can imagine. We do it all here for absolutely free on the channel. And the comments are always a free space. So if you want to ask me a question, I get back to everybody as soon as I possibly can. I'm no better than you. We're all fantasy football addicts. So until tomorrow, when we talk about, of course, we have a podcast tomorrow. We're going to be talking about the AFC North record predictions. We go through their schedules. If you're interested, check us out. And also, tomorrow at noon Eastern, I am going to be hosting a stream for Bleacher Report. We're going to be talking about some NBA stuff. So if you're interested in any of that, of course, come out and support. Let me know you're from the channel. I always love to hear from you guys. So until then, stay happy, stay healthy, get out of here.